Lord, this computer. Okay, I hope you can see me, and I have to. Okay, so let me see if we are live. Yes, okay. So I'm going to share my screen with you. So the idea today is just to give you some tips on how to plan your lessons more quickly, because I know that it can be daunting, you know, lesson planning, and so I'm going to share some ideas with you, some hacks that I've been doing, okay, and it works for me, and hopefully this will work for you as well, okay. So just bear with me because I have to see if you have questions. Let me see. Can you see my screen? Can you see my slides? Can you type people in the can't see the slides?
Hi.
Yeah.
No,
No?
we can't see. No.
Of course, because I haven't I haven't started sharing. I'm sorry. Okay, now you will. Now you will.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Could you please mute yourself for now, and when I open for questions, okay? Thanks. Thank you very much. So I'm going to share some ideas with you. Hi. Okay. So my first, I think the most important thing, in my opinion, is perhaps what teachers, it's how I see the biggest mistake is not planning the learning objective or the learning outcome straight away. What I usually see teachers doing is they choose the materials and then they come up with the lesson plan, when it should be the other way around, okay? So you have to plan the learning objective first and then the material. So this is tip number one. And I would highly recommend that you start your planning backwards. What do I mean by backwards? I mean, start by thinking what you want your learners to achieve, what you want your learners to be able to do by the end of that lesson, or by the end of a series of lessons, okay? For example, let's say if you have a sub-speaking skill, I would like my learners, my students, to be able to discuss and give arguments for or against an idea, an opinion, okay? So let's say you're going to have a lesson on, I don't know, the protests in London for the Black Lives Matters movement, okay? So you want your students to be able to present arguments for and against the protests, okay? So this is planning backwards. You plan first what you want your students to achieve, to be able to do, and then you build on that. You know, you can build the stages, the materials. It will be much easier. I'm telling you, it will be much easier if you start this way. Don't start with, oh, this is a great material, let me use this video. It will be more difficult, okay? It will take more, I mean, you can do it, but it will take more time because you have no purpose. You just have the material. You just have the tool. What are you going to do with the tool? Okay. So my first tip is plan your lesson backwards. Start with the expected outcome. Okay. So do you have any questions about that? People here on Zoom. I have some teachers on Zoom. If you have questions, can you type in the chat box? I can see that we are on Facebook. Okay, no questions. So my second, I'm gonna give you 9 tips, okay? My second tip is plan a series of lessons on the same day. If when you're planning your lesson, try to plan 2 or 3 lessons in a sequence. Why do I say that? Because it's much easier. For example, let's say that again you want to work on presenting an argument for and against, or you want your students to be able to describe their routines by using the present simple and by using the present continuous. Okay, so this is a quite complex. Maybe they won't be able to achieve that in one lesson. To be very realistic, I don't think they will be able to do that in one lesson. So try to plan a series of lessons in advance, 2, 3, on the same topic, but addressing different skills. Okay, so let's say the topic is I don't know, shopping, online shopping. Okay, and then in one lesson you can plan one specific skill. You can going back to tip number 1, planning your lessons backwards. So what do you want your students to achieve in that lesson? So perhaps you can work on their speaking skills and on their listening skills. And in the following lesson, perhaps you can work on their reading skills. Okay, you can plan a reading on that topic. And then on the 3rd lesson, you can ask them to write something on the same topic. So it will be much easier because you can have an overview of your lesson, of your ideas. So planning 1 lesson and planning 3 will be the same, will take about the same time. So yeah, I highly recommend that you plan a series of lessons, especially if you're teaching your students twice a week or 3 times a week. You can do that. Yeah, so you can do the weekly planning in one go. Okay, so this is my tip number 2. If you have any questions about this specific one, do you think it's manageable? You can say, you can unmute yourself now. Is it manageable? Does it make sense to you? Yeah, Mauro saying, yeah, I plan weekly. Yes, great. Carmen, hi Carmen. Yeah, it's much easier, especially if you're going to work on the same topic. Okay, so plan 2 or 3 lessons in a row. Right, my tip number 3 is curate materials and tools. I have some teachers asking, how do you know so many websites, so many tools? I'm not a genius. Okay, I curate everything that I have. I save everything that I see, something that I find interesting. I save it, I bookmark it, and I have a Diigo, Diigo, D-I-I-G-O, Diigo account where I save all my favorite links, and I have more than 10,000 there. I've been saving my favorite websites for nearly 10 years, so I have lots of things there. I also have some materials on my my email as well. I send my emails. Sorry. Okay. Sorry guys, just a second. Alarm. Okay, sorry. So as I was saying, sometimes I send myself emails with the links. Okay, so try to find a way to collate, to curate those materials in one place. What I don't recommend is that you save your links in on the, what is it called, favorite websites in your browser. I don't recommend that, because if you change your computer, you're going to lose everything. So save it in a website, okay, such as Diigo. In the past, I used to use Delicious, a website called Delicious, but I'm not sure if it's working. So that's what I recommend. Pocket. Miranda is saying Pocket is great. I don't know this one. I'm gonna check it out. Yeah, Mauro is saying Digo. Digo is great. Digo is great. So just going back to the questions, Eloise is asking, imagining you're working with the Black Lives Matters article. Okay, you'd work with vocab in one class, reading in the next, and then debate. Maybe, yeah. What I usually do, Eloise, I find it very difficult to completely separate the skills, right? For example, if they're speaking, I usually use a reading article, a reading activity. So I usually work with 2 skills or 2 sub-skills or more in one lesson, right? Because I find it really difficult to separate. But yeah, that would be a good idea. You can work on vocabulary and then do speaking activity, listening activity, and then the following lesson you can work on grammar, yes, or different exercises, yes. Okay. Yeah, so number 4 is very important too, because we cannot memorize all the websites, and I know we are bombarded with so many websites and ideas and resources every day, right? So find a way to curate those materials, okay? So that's my tip number 4. You will see they're very simple, okay? It's not it's not magic. They're very simple ideas. Natalie is saying you can save in a Gmail account, yeah, and have your favorite updated in all devices. Right. I don't do that, but that's a good idea, Natalia. Yeah. Mauri is saying how I also have a what's this? Gmail account? Instagram account, and all the accounts, and I have materials on Instagram. Yes, yeah. If you're following the teachers on Instagram, you can save the post, right? I also have lots of posts saved, and then you have a collection of posts that you save on Instagram. That's a great idea too, Mauro. Yeah. Okay. So you have to find a way to save and to be able to find easily whenever you need, right? This is for materials and resources. Okay, my tip number 5. Okay, start the lesson with a quick review. So going back to that idea, planning a lesson, planning a series of lessons. So if you have that overview of those, for example, let's say 3 lessons, right? You can see exactly what you're teaching, what you're covering in each lesson. So let's say you can start based on what you teach in terms of grammar and lexis. You can start the following lesson by reviewing those items, okay? Either a grammar review or a vocabulary review. You can start the lesson with perhaps a Kahoot game or a Quizlet, just to review the vocabulary, for example, okay? So these could, if you include this review in your lesson plan, I think this will be, again, this will release you to plan the lesson, let's say the body of the lesson better, because you know that, okay, I will start with a review. So it will be kind of automatic. So you have to remember, of course, you're going to write it down, what you've taught previously, okay? So this would be another idea, okay? Start with the review for perhaps 5 minutes if you're teaching a 1-hour lesson. If you're teaching a longer lesson, maybe a longer review. Okay, next one. Right, so choose the materials after you decided on the expected learning outcome, not before, okay? I know it's very tempting to use the materials and the videos and the articles, yeah, that we come across, and they are so interesting. But you need to ask yourself, okay, that's a great material, but how am I going to use it? Does it fit my students' needs? Does it, you know, would it be meaningful for them? So don't just use whatever you find interesting. See if it makes, you know, see if that sort of material makes sense to your students. Okay. And yeah, choose the materials after after deciding on the learning outcome and the learning objective. Okay. That's my tip number 6. What do you think about that? Do you do that honestly? Do you choose the materials after after deciding on the learning objective or the learning outcome, or do you choose it before? Nobody wants to say anything. Let me just check our Facebook. Just a sec. Yeah. Vanessa on Facebook, you can save bookmarks on your profile, Chrome. Ah, okay. Yeah, you can save on Chrome too. Mm-hmm. Yes. You do both. Okay, Natalia. I recommend that you start with the learning outcome, okay? Eloisa is asking, what if I have to work with books only? You can still, it doesn't matter. I use books a lot. You have to look at the materials, the text, whatever the book is proposing, but you have to, you have to decide on the learning outcome. Even if you're using a course book, it doesn't change anything. What's the purpose? They usually, it's usually in the beginning of the unit. Most course books present the learning outcome or the learning objective in the beginning of the unit, right? And if you're using a course book, make sure that you adapt and just use the materials, the items that will be important for your students. Okay. For example, when I'm using a course book, I don't do every single exercise or activity that the course book presents. I don't do it. Okay, and I think we shouldn't. We have to have this autonomy to choose what's worth doing and what's not. Okay. Juliana is asking, I used to do the opposite, but it's been a while since I learned that the best way is what you're saying. Yeah. And by doing this, you save time, because you're not going to, going back to the materials, you're not going to waste time on choosing any kind of learning objective, because if you're slave to the material, you have to find a way to use that material no matter what, right? But if it's the opposite, if you have the learning outcome very clear in your mind and you express this to your students, it's much easier to choose whatever material you want and not the other way around. Did I skip number 3? Did I? Oh, sorry, I did. Sorry, it was not on purpose, sorry. Number 3 is include emergent language and revise it for next lesson. Okay, this is very important too. So if you include emergent language in every lesson, again, you will have, let's say, a slot filled in your lesson plan, okay? And how are you going to include emergent language? If you take note, right, during the lesson, what I usually do is, I have here, I have some Post-its. Yeah, I have Post-its here. So what I usually do is, during a lesson, I write a lot in the post-its. So I write mistakes that my students make. I write interesting phrases, interesting words. I write questions that they ask. So let's say, oh, teacher, how do I say blah, blah, blah in English, right? So this is emergent language. That's the language that they want to learn. So what I do is I make sure that I include this space for teaching, for revising the emergent language in the next lesson as well. Okay, I'm trying to ignore my dog. So, and then you revise it. So you see, you already, by doing these, you already have a kind of scope for the lesson. You can start the lesson with a quick review in vocabulary and grammar, and then you can revise emergent language as well. So you have 2 items already in your, before you actually start the lesson, okay? So, and this, I find it really, really important. We should not overlook this, okay? We shouldn't. Sorry, number 4. Number 5, quick review. Number 6, okay, so I was just talking about that. Choose the materials afterwards. Let me see the questions here. Emergent language, Miranda. Okay, emergent language is incidental language. Is the language that the questions that our students ask spontaneously during the lesson. Okay, that we do not plan to teach, but they ask us, and because they want to say, they need to learn in a lesson. Okay, that you wouldn't otherwise teach them. So it's coming from them, not from us. Okay. Was I clear, Miranda? Do we teach? And then she's asking, do we teach the emergent language then and there when it crops up? Yes, yes, yes. I would, how do I tackle emergent language? I respond to the question straight away. If my student asks something, okay, if they want to, I don't know, let's say they want to, oh, that's a very common question. They want to say, in Portuguese, maybe similar in Spanish. In Portuguese, we say, okay, I want this or this, right? This is what we say in Portuguese. Eu quero isso ou aquilo. And this is very different in English. So if they want to say something like that, alternative, they will perhaps ask, how do I say in English? So we can teach the either or. And this will be something new to them. They can start using straight away in a lesson. Okay. Vanessa is saying, I keep a Google Doc for the month. Yes, that's a great idea too, Vanessa. Mm-hmm. Yeah. After, if you're more old school, okay, like me, you can transfer the notes into a Google Docs as well. Okay, that's what I usually do. But because I have only one screen, I know that some teachers have 2 screens. I just use one screen. I find it really hard to use lots of tabs. So what I usually do is, yes, I write down some notes during the lesson in Post-its, and then after the lesson, I write a document and I share with them. Each of my students has a folder in the Drive, Google Drive. Okay. Vanessa is saying, I keep a Google Doc for the month. The student can access it all the times. We add incidental language. Yeah, we call it either incidental language or emergent language, and discuss it in the next lessons. Exactly. It is useful and thoughtful to include as impromptu teaching or improvising during the lesson. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Thanks for that. Thanks for that comment, Vanessa. Okay, so yeah, going back to the materials, choose the materials after you decide on the learning outcome. Number 7, use the tech tools that you already master. Don't try to use everything. Don't try to reinvent the wheel, or you don't try to, you know, overwhelm yourself with so many tools. Stick to the tools that you master, okay? Maybe if it's one tool, fine. If it's two, fine. Don't try to use too many, okay? Because again, you will probably waste precious time in, you know, in trying to manipulate all those tools. So stick to the ones that you know. If you're using, for example, if you're using, I don't know, for example, let's say you started using Mentimeter. Okay, I love Mentimeter, but there's another tool which is very similar to Mentimeter, which is Answer Garden. Okay, why do I want to use, you know, both of them if they do the same thing for me? Okay, so I don't need to use Answer Garden. I think it's Answer Garden, the name, because Mentimeter, you know, meets my needs. So I don't need to learn, okay, about another tool. Just stick to the ones that you like, that you master, and go for it, okay? That's my tip number 7. My dog's being naughty. Okay, my tip number 8. Just checking here if there is any question. Number 8, plan a brief reflection task for your student at the end of the lesson, okay? At the end of the lesson. I find it really, really helpful and useful to be able to have this info. What do I mean by a reflection task? What I usually do with my students is an informal chat at the end of the lesson, perhaps the last 5 minutes of the lesson, okay? So we finish the lesson and then I ask them, simple questions, something like, did you like the lesson? Was it interesting to you? Did you like the materials? And then they will say, yeah. And I always tell them, please be honest, okay? Please be honest. And they are, okay? Did you like the lesson? Did you find the materials interesting? Was there anything that you didn't understand and you want to do it again, perhaps in the next lesson? Okay, so I ask them, yeah, did you enjoy? Was there anything that you didn't understand? So I wanted to know if they had, you know, if they struggled and if they want to review for the next lesson. Okay. Yeah, I usually ask 3 or 4 questions so that they can give me their honest opinion and they can reflect in the lesson. So I do this in the last 5 minutes. And this will help you design the next lesson, okay? Depending on what you talk about, what your student tells you, this will, you know, will be very, very, very important for your lessons, to inform your lesson, your next lessons, okay? So have this conversation with them. If possible, take notes. If not, record the lesson and then you listen back, you watch back. Yeah. Okay, so that's my tip number 8. Do you have any question? regarding this tip, this idea? Just checking here the Facebook, okay, guys? Let's see if they have a question. Alessandra, I always tell them in advance I will select the activities that suit the students. Great, great. Oh, okay. Ingrid is saying it is difficult when you have to explain to the students' parents. Ah, right. Why did you skip the exercise? Well, you are the teacher, right? Are you talking about one-to-one? Because if they hire you, they have to trust you, yeah? You're the teacher and this is your plan. They are the parents, they are not the teachers. I would be very firm and straightforward. Okay, number 9, the last one. Okay, use or adapt other teachers' ideas. Okay, and then you can find ideas on Twitter, in our group, on like Mauro said, on Instagram as well. Lots of teachers are sharing lesson ideas, sharing lesson plans. So you can use them and adapt. This will be this will help you plan, I would say, quicker lessons. Okay. I like, okay, so let me tell you the ones that I like. So there's off to class. They have the slides all ready for you. Of course, again, you have the material. You have to think about the learning objective. So off to class is a great one. Lingua House is another nice ready-made website that you can find ready-made lesson plans. Lingua House. There's another one. Can you remind me, guys? Lingua House, off to class. You can, and people and teachers also share their lesson plans, right? Ready to Run, yes, I love it. Yes, I think I shared the other day, right? Ready to Run, it's, they have video lessons, fantastic video lessons based on authentic videos. Yes, Ready to Run is another one. ESL Brains is another one with videos, okay? So they have everything ready, but we have to plan the lesson still. But I would say it's halfway done, yeah? Natalie's saying, I do that a lot to get new ideas. Are you talking about, what are you talking about, Natalia? I'm sorry, I missed it. Are you talking about using other teachers' lessons and using ready-made lesson plans? Yeah. So someone is asking, Eloisa, how often do you record and rewatch your lessons? I record my lessons every time. Every time I have a lesson, I record. I don't watch all of them, okay? I would say I watch like 3 times a week. Ah, and by the way, I'm going to talk about this tomorrow, but I don't record the full lesson. I record some specific teachable moments, okay? Because I know watching a one hour lesson, it's very time consuming. So I don't record the whole lesson. I just record, you know, very, very specific moments, okay? Juliana, do you do the same revision with words or structures that were misused or badly? Yes, yeah, that's a great way to address the mistakes. Yes. Yeah, you include that, the mistakes and corrections. You can include that in the quick review in the beginning of the lesson. Okay. So, sorry for that. Just to recap. Sorry for that. She is very naughty now. Okay. Just give me a second. Give me a second, everyone.